All right, everyone, welcome to Visions to Ventures. Here, I want to say thank you for your support, for watching my YouTube videos, listening to the audio on Spotify and also Apple Podcasts. Thank you for all your great support. Little quick background. We had to start over the video, so it's fine. But we're here. So I have my friend here, Gisselle. We've known each other now, I guess, for 14 years. So that's kind of like the info that I got before I press play on here. Anyway, so she's a great friend, photographer, and I just wanted to bring her in and for her to share kind of like, how she started her business, what kind of inspired it, what, just to give us a little insight about herself. So, go.
Okay, got it. So, my name is Gisselle. I have Gisselle Fotography. I've been doing this now that we've done the math for about 14 years. I guess what started my business was the passion of art.
Okay.
And I've been really inclined to dance, music, painting, drawing, and things of that sort. So I definitely root for people who do things like that, because I think sometimes it's kind of frowned upon.
Yeah.
It's not like the thing that's going to give you anything, but it does. Where I started kind of exploring that space was the time that I was living in Spain. During that time, I was waiting for my residency, and it was the big MySpace, post pictures. And I think that's kind of when everything started going. In some ways, yes. No, but in other ways, it's more like digital.
Okay.
So everything became digital. And so at that time, while I was waiting for my residency to come, which was 3 months, I started exploring Photoshop and got really into that. Like, you can create anything in Photoshop. And so I think that's where things started. Eventually, I came back to the U.S., and my first goal was to get a camera, which happens to be the Rebel.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I wanted to take pictures of close friends and family, and that's pretty much where portraits were the main thing. And to this day, like, one of my favorite photo shoots to do definitely is maternity.
Okay.
I love maternity. I like doing newborns,
okay.
But I love maternity. I love doing like portraits, and that's where I got that exposure of having like really great people who just let me take pictures. And I feel during that time, 2007 is actually when I got my camera, but I wasn't out there until 2008, 2009. Is like, I'm really grateful for those people that just let me like post like this, post like that, blah, blah, and like come into this like modern aspect of, portraits in the 90s. What are they? We're all wearing the same
clothing,
and just
the same
like
background,
serious,
right?
Depending if you're Latino, it's just like you're serious.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And then like the West Valley, those portraits in the background.
It's like, whoa, those a throwback this year, just so you know, it's gonna be West Valley like.
But oh my gosh, geez, going back in time.
Yes, for sure.
So you had no experience, and you just were like, I'm gonna grab this camera, and you said you just started with family and friends, and
yeah.
And do you feel like you got good feedback?
I actually do.
You do?
I do, because I do feel like, especially, we gotta consider the fact that we do come from a Latino community, which we're very critical over the way that we look. Okay. So, of course, people were like, nah, I don't like this, blah, blah, blah. So, I do feel like I got a great feedback at the time. I do feel like I got really great exposure to the things that I wanted to do. And luckily, there were people who wanted to just get pictures. Again, we came from that era of having digital cameras where you instantly can see what's going on. And I know, like, that makes me sound so old. But truly, I feel that the best art in photography is actually, like, developing your own film.
Yeah.
Which is something that I haven't explored enough. But at that time, it was really cool to be like, oh, I can upload this. This is available at this time. So it did give me that space of exploring different areas. And then with Photoshop, it's like, what can I do with this image?
Correct.
So that was kind of cool.
And And I know back then it was YouTube. So did you go based off YouTube, or you just, turn on Photoshop and you're like, well, let's see what this does, or how was it? How was your learning? Yeah,
Honest. Okay. I feel like I'm a very creative person. So one thing you should know with this podcast is that one story has 20 little branches.
We only got 10 minutes, so
okay, fine.
Okay,
no, but truly, like, I am a person that thinks of one thing and then all of a sudden there's like 10 branches. Mm-hmm. So for me, honestly, it was, what can I do? And then just exploring and messing up and having fun with it. Like, okay, that did not turn out how I thought it was going to turn out, but this is a cool tool. Maybe I could use it for whatever next time. Eventually, during that time, so 2005 or so is when I was in Spain. That's barely like the New Year's of YouTube. Eventually, YouTube was a great tool for me. Because as you say, like, that's where you can find everything. Yeah. That grandma recipe is in there. You just got to tweak it a little bit. But it's true. You find all the tools in there. So social media, and I guess we'll go down the line of that. Social media can be so great in many aspects, and it can be bad in other aspects. But any positive information you want to find, you will find it. And so YouTube definitely was like, what are other people doing? Coming back around that time and taking pictures, it was more like, I don't want to do the regular portraits that you can go to Walmart to get at this time. And actually, I did work at Walmart portraits. But you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I want to make them fresh. What can be fresh? And so finding people who were teaching you about, like, natural lighting and things of that sort was definitely something that I've concentrated on. As much as I like equipment, I definitely do like that natural space. Yeah. For sure.
So, I mean, since we're going back to how did you get your, how were you, being known out there as a photographer? Is it, with social media just starting, not many was it just word of mouth? Is that how?
Yes. So I'm very lucky, and I think it has two aspects to that. I'm very lucky that I started during a time where Facebook wasn't a new thing, although MySpace was the thing. Yeah. But Facebook was a place where, you got to connect with people who you didn't think you were going to see for forever. And people started sharing. So a lot of my business and the people who follow me on Instagram to this day are friends of friends of friends of friends. So they've always been supportive. A lot of my clients are actually referrals. So I think it's that. I think it's the fact that people have shared. People have followed me and been patient through the growth, because there's struggles in the growth, and I'm not the same person that I was as a person. I'm not the same person that I was in 2009. Yeah. And I'm definitely not the same artist or the person that views a thing the same way as I am now. Okay. Yeah.
Wow. With the geez, that's you went in deep. Just chill. Like, how was it that well, before we continue and get, because I know we can go down that rabbit hole. Yeah. I want you to be able to share with everyone the process of, like, becoming a photographer. Like, from camera, like, whatever. Buy a camera, or take classes or whatever it is. Like, walk us to, like, the process of it from the beginning, the middle, kind of like, what else you kind of might need to be successful, and then eventually kind of, okay, this is, not saying end, because it's limitless, right? Kind of what you can do with photography. Yeah. But can you walk us through that, like, license and all, whatever you might need?
I feel like there's so many layers. I see you just said, like, if we start with equipment, then it's this. Then if we start with visions, then it's this. If we start with clientele marketing, there's so many layers to it. What I feel is, and this is my totally personal opinion, there is an art to it. Okay. Anybody can grab a camera and take a picture. I mean, we have phones, right? That's available to us. But I feel like as much as equipment doesn't matter, in my opinion, it kind of does. Like I told you, I'm a total fan of the Rebel cameras. Okay. I am.
Canon.
And the reason, yes, Canon.
I know. Hashtag on it. You want to send us something?
Hashtag. No, but I feel now actually they're both kind of equal. There's not really space back in the day. It was Canon. Yeah. But I will say, like, it doesn't matter what you do. It's practice. How comfortable. Because a person who doesn't know about cameras, you can give them the most expensive camera, $4,000, $5,000. But if you don't know how to use it, you're an auto. So what's the difference between that $5,000 camera and that $300, $400, $500 camera? There's not. So what I will say is I feel like whatever camera you have, you should just explore, mess up, make great images and things of that sort, and just try to play with what makes you you. So for myself, I started with just a Rebel camera, just the generic lens. I didn't have anything fancy or anything of that sort, but it was really messing up. I actually remember I took a couple pictures and I was like, why is this so grainy? And one of my good friends' dad is actually an amazing photographer, and I messaged it to him like, what am I doing? Is my camera broken? He was like, your settings are completely off. And I was like, what do you mean? Yeah. So that was like a good check in and saying, like, it doesn't matter what camera you have, just explore it at that time, and then it's finding your style. Because at first I feel like I was very much trying to a people pleaser.
Okay.
So please edit this part and this and this and this. And I would be like, of course, yes. Yeah. And I want all 200 shots. Of course. Like, I will sit there. And so you become this person who you don't really know exactly what your art is. And so right now, like, no shade to anybody, I love photographers that edit every single aspect. You know, that's an art in itself. Yeah. But I'm more like, this is my art now. If you don't want me, like, I do basic Photoshop, of course. Like, I'll switch things up, coloring and all that kind of thing.
She'll drop 20 pounds from the picture, right?
Depending.
It's like, depending how much you pay me, right?
But you know what I mean? Exactly. Depending the tips. No, but, like, you know, like, I have my own set. I like things natural. I will edit the basic things. The colors, of course, so your pictures are popping and that kind of thing. But I'm definitely not the type of photographer that will edit every single part of you.
Kind of to take away that natural beauty of, right?
Yeah, and there's no shade in people who do that. It's just not me.
Yeah.
But that took years to be like, no, I don't feel comfortable in doing that. Yeah. I want you to look like you 20 years from now. So it took a second to get there, and I feel like you have to become confident in what type of art you're trying to do or what type of business you're trying to do.
Correct. Which I feel is interesting, right? Because if a client likes that type of, like, you know, super edited photos or videos or whatever, then they can kind of research and find a photographer, videographer that does, right?
Exactly.
Because I feel like if they're going directly to someone, you know, who just want to keep it natural, do you know, just a bit of editing to it, you know, they're not gonna like it, and they're gonna have bad reviews.
Exactly.
And it's just like. And for me, it's interesting because I never really thought about that. I'm like, well, I'll just go with any photographer and they should give me a really good, you know.
Right.
And so, but now it's kind of eye-opening knowing, like, yeah, like, I guess if I really want someone to edit, you know, and I've seen some of those where it's like super edited, like the colors change.
And it's like, cool.
Yeah.
And it's great in its own self. And there's no diss in that. It's more into saying, like, just because I like pizza, do I want to go to Pizza Hut every time?
Correct.
No. I want to try maybe Domino's. Maybe I don't have money and I want to go to Little Caesars. Or maybe I want to... Hey, $5, cool.
You have no money, you go to Costco and you fill up.
That's the best one. You're right. But you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't mean you have to stick to something. Yeah. And so to put you on the spot, I've taken pictures of you. And you've gone with other photographers. And for me...
Gisselle!
But...
She's lying.
No.
Just kidding.
No, it's true. Look at his wife's profile. No, but truly, why would I feel shade in that aspect? No. It's different art. You want a different flavor at that time, and that's totally okay. You know what I mean? Like, you're allowed to explore different aspects because different people, just because you have the same camera, would you take the same picture? It's true. Yeah. Would you? No, you wouldn't.
Correct, yeah.
You have a different angle. And I think that's part also as becoming confident in your art. There's many aspects of social media. I think we were discussing that earlier. Like, social media can be so great and it can be so bad in the aspect that a picture pops up and you're already comparing yourself. And social media can be like a show. We only show our best. Most people show their best. I like to show the struggle, but most people show their best. So you're constantly comparing yourself to this photographer that maybe has 20 years of experience, whatever, like, time and consuming them to become this artistic person. And that's great. But there are so many layers and so many flavors to try. Like, I can say that for myself. Like, there's aspects of, like, will guys go to 20 barbers during the year? No, they're probably going to stick to one. Yeah. But for me, like, my nail person, will I go to 20? No, probably I will stick to one. But restaurants, I will go to 20. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I feel like with photography is the same. Like, this photographer is holding, like, a session that I haven't thought about. That's awesome. I want to book with you too. As a photographer, I want to go with you too. So I feel like it's the aspect of balancing, like, that's creative, that's cool, and respecting each other's ideas. And that's cool because I'm doing this and this is what makes me unique.
Which is funny because I feel like for me, I mean, it's everyone's has a business, right? But I feel like for me, it was just like, oh, well, photographers just take pictures. That's it. Like, there's nothing more. You know what I'm saying? Like,
they're just clicking.
It's
true.
You know what I'm saying? And it's going to sound, I mean, hopefully it's not rude or anything, but I now, like, and this is good because I feel like we're sharing, you know, insights to, like, what an actual photographer, you know, what they see on their side versus what a client sees on their side. You know?
Exactly. Client photography.
You know? And it's interesting because I'm just like, oh, like, it makes for me, it's eye-opening. I'm like, oh my, like, I feel bad for even thinking about, like, oh, they just press the button, you know? And it's more than that. It's like more like you said, right? It's your type of style. So you know, we take different photographers, or we've been to, you know, like, places when we go take photos. Yeah. And you place us here, but another photographer will place it over here because they like more of a naturey something color. Exactly. But you might like, you know, the floral and type of stuff like that.
Exactly. You know? And I think that's what it's about, and it can be discouraging. So if I had something to say to somebody that wants to do any sort of art, but obviously applicable to what I do, which is photography, is that, like, you do want to go out there and look and see what's out there as far as photography, because everything has evolved in life in general, you know, and that's applicable to photography. Photography has evolved since MySpace times when I began to now, but I feel is considering the fact that there are different spaces, and it's okay for you to be like, wow, that's inspiring. And I do eventually want to get there. Or that's really cool, but that's not me. It's staying true. And so for my business, I feel I may not have this boom aspect of, you know, 1 million followers and blah, 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 blah. But I feel that I'm very connected with the people I take pictures of. Yeah. So, like I mentioned before to you, like, as you were setting things up, like, when Laura messaged me, I was like, yeah, of course. Why? Because I feel like there's some sort of connection. Like, I definitely am the type of person that pours myself into that session, into connecting and making, like, a great experience for you guys. I'm always, like, upbeat, trying to talk to you. Hey, I haven't seen you in whatever amount of time. What are you guys up to? Yeah. You know, I'm genuinely trying to connect. That's the type of person I am. Correct. So I feel when you were asking, like, how did you get your clientele? I feel that that's something that's worked with me. Yeah. Because I'm a very people person. Correct. And I do genuinely care. Like, for me, your daughter, like I told you before, she's still 4 or 5. Yeah. Because I see her so tiny, and then to just find out, like, she decided to grow. Yeah. You know what I mean? No. And it's something different. And so I feel like everybody brings a different aspect to their business and their eye and what they're trying to capture too.
Yeah. No, that's pretty awesome. I like that. I had a follow up, and then I just
kept talking.
But no, I really like that because I feel in personal opinion, but it's like each business is different, but having that connection with the client, not eventually making it friends, family, right?
Yeah,
because you pretty much know me half of my life, right?
Dang, okay.
And you know what I'm saying, like, because pretty much almost half of my life, like, and so it's we can say, oh, we're friends. Eventually down the road, with success that you get from your business and stuff like that, I can be like, yeah, like, she's family, right? She's taking all the pictures from when we were possibly dating, to married and now, like, birth and all this or whatever it might be,
Yeah.
So, and I feel like that's some, I hope that businesses don't forget that those clients, they're the ones who can make or break the company, because they can be like bad referrals, bad this, but you just being genuine and being passionate about your work, I feel like that's all that you should, you need. Yes. And then marketing, which that's where I come in. I'm just kidding, but you know what I'm saying? That's kind of like, it's that's interesting to see this,
and for me, it's that. So I feel like, going through the whole process, like when you asked me, like, hey, would you be willing, blah, blah, blah. I've been thinking about, like, why am I doing this? Like, let me remind myself why. And I will say that that's the hard balance. Like, like I said, I'm a very artistic person. I'm very creative. On the spot, I have 20 million ideas. Like, it's kind of like, calm down. Yeah. But I will say, like, it's a hard balance because you want to make it a business, but it's your passion. Yeah. So how do you balance that? You know what I mean? And so for me, this whole time, although I'm in a little break from it, I've always cared about every session. And maybe people see it, maybe people don't. And that's okay because I feel it. Yeah. I care about, like, I want to grow, and of course everybody's doing something for money, and it's fair to say, I've invested, like in this case, like, I watched YouTube videos, I did this, I did that, I took courses, whatever, I've invested in my equipment, but at the end of the day, I can tell you for myself, like, I love it. I love being pumped up and going to a session and, like, I'm listening to Beyonce and all these things, and Shakira, whatever. Yeah. Getting pumped up to go to my session because I care enough to be there. Yeah. But at the same time, it's kind of like, how do you balance those things? But at the end of the day, for me, it's my passion and my connection with people. And it's people like you guys, like, in that sense, because I have taken pictures of you guys. I care. And I follow on social media, and I'm like, oh my God, like, what, you had a birthday? What is she saying now? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I actually genuinely care, and it's what you're saying. Like, I wouldn't be in this space that I am without the dedication I've given, but the feedback I've gotten from people. Yeah. And I feel that, yes, like, you got to remember who was there. When I can tell you, I can show you pictures, like, overexposed, blurry, whatever it may be when I started, but you stuck through that process and you're still here. Like, I have so many people who are like that, and people along the way who have built their own businesses along the way. And I'm very passionate about that because it's hard work. You have to have your heart and mind have to be there because it's not easy.
And that brings me to I said it and people might not believe or whatever, but this whole podcast is to, okay, right, you're a photographer, right? But you might have other visions, other interests, other things that you kind of kept hidden, or you haven't found really a reason why to bring it out, right?
Yeah.
And, as we said earlier when we were having a conversation, it's like, you were listening to your friend's podcast, and then, I tell you to be part of it, be an episode, and now you're like, well, I want to also start a podcast later on, and it's just like, well, make that happen, It's you listen to some, and I'm thankful because when I go back and you're like, yeah, you said that before in your podcast, I'm like shut up, you really listen to all my.
I listened
because for me, I'm like, I expect people to listen to 5 minutes of it,
No, I listened.
And it's just like, no, like, I'm doing this, like, it's informational. I want to make sure that it's that motivation where you can be like, well, crap, now I want to do my own podcast, and you can see the setup, right? And I'm hopefully, I can be like, well, this is what I know so far. Let me bring you up to speed. So instead of starting at the bottom where you don't know anything, you don't know what audio, what stuff, I can be like, well, do this.
Yeah.
And now you're starting the same where I'm at. But now you can also advance and go more into it because that's you.
I genuinely feel like that. I mean, I'm going to keep this mic.
It's like all of a sudden I'm like looking at my backpack. Where's my mic?
I'll keep all your equipment. No, but I do feel that. Like, I think we had like a message conversation on Instagram about that. I feel for myself, like, where did you take that picture? Oh, it was here and here.
Mm-hmm.
What did you do? Blah, blah, blah. This is what I did.
Yeah.
The reason why I feel I do that is because your vision is different than mine.
Yeah.
So we could be in the same exact place with the same exact cameras and lenses, whatever. You're still going to view that moment differently.
Yeah.
So why am I trying to compete with you?
Correct. And people need to get away from competing with each other.
Yes.
Instead of like competing, just help each other and grow.
Exactly. Because we also had that conversation where you were saying, like, you can have the same information, but you don't have the same motivation.
Correct.
So for me, like, it's always been like that. I've had a lot of clients, actually, who I've photographed for years, and they're like, hey, I really want to buy a camera. I want to test photography. And I'm like, cool.
Yeah.
This is what I know. Don't take it as an expert, because still, I think it's keeping that humble aspect. Like, I've been taking pictures for so long, but I don't consider myself necessarily a photographer funny enough, right?
Yeah.
But it's because of that, because I feel there's so much growth. And for me, the ultimate space is I want to develop my own pictures. I want to have that type of camera. You know what I mean? But what are you going to do if I said, oh, I found this place between this and blah, 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 and this is the lighting?
Yeah.
You're either going to go and invest in your time and try to test what makes you you.
Yeah.
But the flavors are not going to be the same. So what's the point in hiding that?
Correct. And I feel that's kind of I feel like, this is my own opinion, but I'm sure you get the question where is it Nikon or Canon? Right? That's the kind of like, hey, I want to start photography. Is it Nikon? Is it Canon? Yeah. And you're just like, but no one talks about Sony. What's up with Sony? I'm just kidding.
I actually did get one question. I was like, oh.
It's like, and I feel so, like, you have to kind of just ask those questions and not be ashamed. I feel like asking those is what's going to make you know better. Like, again, starting off from a great start instead of like just not knowing where to go. And like you said, right, you can spend $5,000 on a camera,
but if you don't know,
then it's like, what's the point? Just start off with this one. Eventually you'll move up your way.
Exactly. And I do feel like the same as my experience that I said before, like that amazing photographer that to this day I'm like, oh my god, you're so amazing. Like, it doesn't matter what you photograph, I'm just like, ugh. But he was kind enough to be like, hey, it's your settings, like,
because he could have said no. He could have just been like, I don't know, figure it out,
Exactly.
And then just
maybe there is something wrong with your camera, But no, he took his time. He emailed me back and he said, well, if you think about it, you made it grainy because blah, blah, blah. Like, I have that email to this day. Yeah. But it was like his space of just telling me, and I've always felt that way. And I do feel people sometimes are kind of like, well, you're going to take that idea from me. And it's like, people are not going to take those ideas because they're not their own. I can tell you right now, I want a picture that has a black background and a white outfit, blah, blah, blah. We can come up at the same day, same time. It's not going to look the same because we have different visions. Correct. So I think what's cool is to interact and not so much compare yourself to other people in the same field you may be doing. So again, with photography, Utah has so many photographers. So if I were to compare myself to them and be like, oh my gosh, this person charges $600 and they have, 1 million followers, blah, 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 then it would just devastate me, But it's more into saying like, wow, what can I learn from that person? This person has this. That's cool. That's not my art. Let me go to this person that maybe has 2,000 followers and charges whatever amount, and I can still learn from that person. I can still be inspired by that person. So I think it's about like finding that genuine space where, yes, clients make you grow, but also it's the art that I bring to the table that's making me grow. And it's a hard balance. I will say that. Like, it's really hard because sometimes I get discouraged. Like, to this day, like, I really would have wanted to do that. But I didn't, and that's okay. Maybe next time I can come up with a different idea, a different twist.
No, you know, like, so you were mentioning, you're talking about, you know, doing the painting. Yeah, the canvas.
So, for instance, I have a picture. I'll maybe share it with you so you can kind of get an idea. But it's like a fall picture. So there's a bunch of trees. It's yellow in the background, and it's my family picture. But I'm going to paint on it. Yeah. So that's a different twist on what I see versus what a different person may see. And there's other people who, like, do such artistic things, but that's going to be my twist on it. Yeah. So I'm excited to be able to, like, I thought about doing embroidery for my own pictures and things like that because I love embroidery. I love painting and things like that. So I think it's like definitely there's so much out there that the your ideas are just limitless. Like don't box yourself into saying like this is what I want to do. Like this is what you want to do, but what else can you do? Like just keep pushing.
And this is interesting, right? Because you're sharing this, and you're not like, oh my gosh, I want people to take this idea, right? Because we go back.
I'll sue you.
No, I know it's already trademarked.
It's trademarked.
But you know what I'm saying is that you say, someone can go off this idea that you share here, but it's not going to be the same, you know?
It's not. And we don't have the same vision.
Yeah, and so like maybe even if like, and I even tell people, even if they do like, you know, like they do something similar, they're not going to be passionate about it, right? Because you are passionate about this, that you want to include something else. You want to do something else.
Exactly.
You're thinking more like visionary. I can't remember the word I was going to say, but you're thinking more that you wanted to be different. And this is great, you know, like you're, you know, I can't wait to actually see that vision that you have and go for it. And hopefully this is something that's going to be really, you know, really good. Like, like people got to expect, like, there's things that you tried and you say, hey, I tried it, but whatever, you know.
It didn't work out. Know? It may be a dummy, like, let's edit this out later.
And I have all these canvases at home, you know. No, exactly. But, you know what I'm saying? But the whole getting away from that fear of, like, just doing it, you know, and seeing where it goes. That is very, very interesting. And I really like that. You know, I like you heard it first here.
Yes, I will come back to this moment. What is it today? January 12th? Yes.
But so real quick, so you said cameras. There's no really license or anything, right? You need to do for photography. There's no like. Do you have
yes, there is. Currently, we're on hold just because I've been away from photography for the past few years now. But yeah, there are licenses that you should get definitely to protect yourself because you just never know who's out there. But I will say this, you should never do a job just because. You should always do it because you have that feel inside of you. And I will say, like, at the beginning of time, like I said, I was a very much people pleaser. And during that time, I just wanted to go out there and practice and practice and practice. But you got to follow your own instincts on what's worth your time. And I think that part is hard when you have a passion for something. Because, like, in your case, like, you want to do this podcast. I genuinely feel like you want to help people, right? But are you going to be here, like, Monday through Friday from 7 to 10 p.m.? Like, is it worth your time? Probably not. You're going to put your set schedule in that time. Yeah. So I feel like when people start pushing and pushing and pushing, you have to learn to say no. Yeah. And that's hard. It's so hard because, again, like, I've done so many sessions, and there were many sessions where I didn't feel as comfortable. And I probably should have said no, but it was like, I want to get myself out there. But that backfired because I didn't listen to myself. So you got to be confident enough to say, this is the style I want to do. And it's not going to come from one day to another. It's going to come from a space of practicing and failing and getting that picture right and not getting it right. As I said to you before, I shot a photo shoot and half of it wasn't even on the card. Like, it's a learning experience. Like, luckily I was with good people.
Or starting this podcast and not having the camera recording.
But that's okay because that's how you...
No one knows.
No one knows but us.
Yeah.
But that's how you learn from your mistakes, you know? But eventually you come comfortable in saying, like, when a person starts saying, hey, I want a photo shoot with you. So-and-so recommended, and I'm so grateful. Like, I go back and I'm like, hey, your friend so-and-so, like, came to me. Thank you so much. Like, maybe next time, instead of just adding 30 pictures, I'll add 50. And usually I do, you know? But I go back to that person, and then they're like, can you edit this? Can you make me this? Can you... And I do say flat out, but it came with time and saying, that's not my art. Yeah. So, no, I will not edit this. I will not edit that. I will not make you look like the Kardashians or whatever because I don't feel comfortable in that space. And fair and square, I'm telling you before the session. So, if you want someone that can, you should look for that artist. But that's not me. Yeah. And so, that's becoming comfortable in your spaces and saying, these are my boundaries. This is what I'm okay in doing. And this I will not do. So, why are you going to spend time and money on someone that can't do that or won't do that in this case, right? And the same for me. Why am I going to invest my time away from my family, from my friends, in doing something that I don't even really want to do and I won't be as passionate as? But I think that that's also like a luxury. Yeah. You know, because I can pick and be selective on what I want to do. So it definitely takes a lot of experience to get to that space and saying, this isn't worth my time. This is not the art. This is not who I'm represented. Right. And with social media, we have such different aspects that I will say for marketing. Like, you got to really know who you are. Yeah. And for myself, like, I am who I am. Like, who you see on social media is definitely who you see in person. Like, I can be bubbly. I can become political, as I said before. I can be very straightforward. And if you like it, cool. And if you don't, that's okay. Because you're going to find someone else. And that's okay. Yeah. But you have to become comfortable in that rejection and acceptance.
Yeah, I think that's... That's a good, because I was going to ask you, you know, what advice, but I think that's a really great advice. Yeah. Is just being able to say no, like, no, I will not take this, you know, take the job, I will not do this, or if you do take it, you know, kind of set boundaries and limits, you know.
Exactly, so. Because it's almost as like a lot of people, I don't know that people know that. There's a lot of people that because you're a photographer friend, they're kind of like, hey, I'm getting married, or I have a baby shower, or I have whatever event. Do you want to come? And you're kind of like, oh my God, yes, I want to come to your baby shower. Yes. Oh, could you bring your camera? Yeah. And it's like, really? Like, then it makes it like, no, I'm not going to come anymore. But it's setting those boundaries. Like, you can't be taken advantage of. You can't be exposing yourself to things that you don't genuinely feel okay with.
Yeah, and I think people should know that there's people out there like that, you know. There's a lot. You know, it's like I had a conversation with a friend, and it's like those people, like, you know, where they're like, oh, can you give me a discount, you know. It's like, but you should be like, this is someone's business, right? It's a small business, you know. And so you're pretty much, you know, you're saying you're helping someone by like, hey, I'm gonna hire them so they can do this, but then you want a discount, you know, and then you're like, you know, but what's the point? Because now it's like you're taking their profits that they need, you know, for whatever, you know, reinvesting in their own, you know, their own company, and now you're just like, whatever it is, right? And yeah, and it's just like, I wish people, you know, we didn't have those type of people, but because it's like, bro, just, you know, or person, just pay whatever, you know, like pay what it needs to be to support your friend, you know, no discounts, just go, and at the end just say thank you, and then refer them without, you know, expecting something in return as well, you know.
Oh, for sure. And I think that's like a whole other subject. But I will say, so for part 2, okay, when you invite me back, no, but I will say for sure, like, there are definitely people who try to take advantage of that space, but it's like, if you went to Walmart, would you be like, are you going to give me an additional discount because I bought stuff last week? Yeah. You wouldn't. No. So why would you come to this person and say that? Correct. Now, if it's in my space, like I said, I like to add images for people and be like, oh, you know how I told you 15 for this Monday session? Well, no, now you have another 5. But that's out of me to give to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You shouldn't have that expectation, because also what goes behind photography, it's like, I have to think of a place. I have to think of a look. I'm spending my time taking your pictures, then editing and making sure your pictures look good. Then I also have to, like, narrow down whatever it is that I told you I was going to give you. That's hard. That takes a lot of time. So let's say a session is $100. How much is my gas to get there?
Yeah.
My time communicating with you to settle on a place. My time there while taking photography, pictures, and then editing and all these things. Like, you got to be really smart about how you do things, and definitely being able to say no in that space. Like, it's not worth your time or space.
Yeah.
You want to be in spaces where people like your art, like what you give, and I feel like in those spaces you feel appreciated and you want to give them more, and that's how I feel. I'm very lucky, I will say that. I'm very lucky because a lot of my followers are genuine, great people, and there's a lot of people who have built their own businesses that I'm hardcore for them. Like, you want to do nails? Cool. Let's promote you, because I feel that's cool. You've been, like, supporting me. I will support you, and that's what creates, like, the bigger picture, and not being envious of another person, is saying, like, that person's cool because she can take pictures of this, or he can take pictures of this. But this person is cool because they can do this, and I'm inspired by you. I'm inspired by you. I've been in the business since this year, but you have been in the business for 2 years, and you're bringing this perspective. Like, you always have to find a way to learn about someone else and how they're making it, because it takes a lot of will, time, failures, and there's that crying behind the background and saying, like, oh my gosh, this is not working, and then, oh my gosh, I feel great. Behind every post, like I said before, to some people it may be just, oh, you just did a TikTok. It's just a picture you posted. But behind that picture you posted, there's probably 10 other takes that you could have. You're just thinking, like, is this the right take? Blah, blah, blah. Is this the right TikTok? Is this the right video? And for you, like I told you before, props to you, because you're doing videos as well. I could never, and I'm a photographer. I could never sit down and edit someone's videos. No.
And it's funny because the one thing for me was, like, listening to my own voice, you know, seeing my own face, you know. And I like the feedback, right? Like, my wife said, why do you look all mad when you're on the first episode? And I'm like, because one, I give myself, I'm like thankful, like, I'm like glad that I was able to get away from that fear of looking at the camera like this and being like, you know. But then I realized maybe I was really, hopefully people saw I was passionate about what I was saying, you know.
Yeah, you were in your element.
And that's why for me, it might have been angry, but it's like, because, like, oh my gosh, I'm concentrated. I want to share this. And, you know, I can go more into details of everything, you know, but I wanted to just give a glimpse of it, a bit of it. And, you know, later on share more about it, or have people be like, come up or message me or whatever. Like, well, what do you mean by this? What, you know, what can you do with this? Or, you know, and eventually for me is collaborate with people, you know, like, you know, do things. But enough about that, because this is about you. You know, so you know, I was going to ask you your vision. I feel like you can kind of give us, you know, a little bit glimpse of what, you know, how you want to switch things up and make changes. What would you like to leave to the people listening, watching this YouTube video? And you can look at the camera if you want to say, but what do you want to leave and tell people, like, this is kind of your time where you can, you know, whatever you want to say, can be advice, and can be just anything that you feel that you want to let everyone know. And this is pretty much like putting you on the spot. Like,
okay, freestyle.
Yeah, it is, you know, because I always like to end it this way, and, you know, and I feel like this requires a part 2, because there's so much we can talk about, you know. More in details, you know. Will
you sign me up? I'm gonna, like, compromise you because it's recorded.
We'll think about it. We'll discuss that later.
Dang.
Off camera. No, but you know what I'm saying? It's what is something, you know? How do you want to be remembered? Just kidding.
Okay. I feel okay. That's okay. Fine. You're making me think. I will say, if you have the passion for something, you're not losing anything by trying it. Mm-hmm. If you think about it, there's so many businesses, and sometimes we look at items at the store that you're kind of like, really? Someone needs this? But it's available because someone did need that. Mm-hmm. So whatever business you're thinking of doing, just try it. Mm-hmm. What's holding you back?
Yeah.
Nothing. Like, it's truly like our mindset. And I know we talked about it before. It's like your mental health and stuff like that. But put your passion into work. Put that idea into work. If you want to do it, just do it. There's nothing holding you back. Because that idea that you think, oh, this is dumb. There's 20 other people, blah, blah, blah. But maybe we need that 21 person to show us what that means. And just do it. Like I said, for myself, I'm in Utah. Yeah. There's how many photographers out there? Yeah. A million. Like, in this neighborhood, I wonder how many photographers there are. But truly, if I were to go by that thought, it's kind of like, why am I even doing photography? Right. That person has better equipment, better whatever, better outreach, whatever. But I'm still here, and I still have my own. And I will say that, like, I can have 50 followers, but I can say my 50 followers are, like, legit. They're hardcore to me. Yeah. And I love that. Like, I love having that people, like, or those people who just come back to me because I'm like, dang, like, that's awesome. But when I do see them going with other photographers, I'm kind of like, that's awesome. You explored out there. And I can learn from that experience that you also had. Like, that's cool. You wanted this image. So I would say don't be discouraged. Just try. There's no failure. It's more like looking back and said, you know what, I wanted to do this business and it didn't work out, but I learned this, and now I really found my passion because I explored this other side. Yeah. So I would say that, like, there's many people out there, and I do have a lot of creative friends that inspire me all the time, and a lot of creative people, like, as a client, right? Like, it's like a client type thing, but it's kind of like, this is awesome. Like, this is something that I've wanted to do, but this is inspiring to me because it's kind of like, I've explored just this side, but maybe I can explore this side. You know, it's about supporting each other. And also, I will say for people, as far as, like, friends and family, your likes, your feedback makes such a huge difference because although I mentioned before, I have this back and forth with social media, and that's why I do take, like, huge breaks. Yeah. And I notice a lot of my posts say, like, oh, sorry, I was on a break. But it's because it messes with my head. So
Giselle's hasn't posted in, like, 100 days.
Actually, no. In February, it will be a year since I posted. But truly, it's that, like, your likes, your shares make a huge difference. And as a deeper thing, because I told you from the beginning I'm a very deep person, is if we support the Kylie Jenners, we support the J-Los, we support, like, all these fancy ass things that sometimes are you gonna bleep that out? No. Ass? No, I can say ass.
No, you can say
ass.
Okay. It's like, I'll just cut this whole frame. No.
If we support all these celebrities that truly not know anything about our existence, they don't care. Yeah. They really don't care. Like, I bought, like, whatever lipstick from MAC. Like, do you think they know who I am? No.
No, you're just number whatever.
I'm just number whatever that added to their profit. And I probably will post something and be like, look at this lipstick, you know? And they do nothing for me. Why would you not post for someone that actually brings something to your life? Yeah. That shows up for your birthday, for your anniversary party, for your Christmas, for your happy birthday on Facebook. That's someone that adds to your day. So try to be as supportive. Yeah. Like, these celebrities don't do anything for you. You do something for them. Why can't you do something for these people around you that are trying to really make something of themselves while integrating you and having, like, a good vision, like you? Like I told you before, I can tell you actually want to show people how things are done. You're not here, like, saying, I want to make $1 million out of you, and if you want this package. And it's the same for me. Like, that's the hard part that I'm like, oh, I could charge differently and edit differently and just edit 5 pictures and charge you whatever. Correct. It's the art of it. So I would say that, like, think of all this aspects. As a person who wants to create.
Yeah.
As a person who doesn't want to create but wants to support. You're supporting the Kylie Jenners, the J-Los. Do it for your friend that has whatever business. Just share it.
Yeah. Share it. Support small business.
Like it. Heart it. Whatever else.
It's, just, that's kind of, support the locals, support, you know. And it's right to have those days, say, or weeks or whatever, support small business. But, do it. We're just we're small business owners are just us, right? Like us, like we live next to you, we're neighbors. So yeah, just support. I really like that. That's a really do you have I don't know, your social media? Do you want to share it?
Sure.
Or do you want to, what you like, any plugs that you want to put in, like you can find me at so and so, or
my only one that I have currently is Gisselle Photography. So it's GISSELLEFOTOGRAPHY. So Gisselle Photography, English and Spanish, on Instagram. That's the only one that I currently have. I used to have a Facebook, and I think I still have a page that I haven't followed up with, but it's because of that. I do take breaks because I do feel like my art does take a lot of me because I care enough. Yeah. I don't want to show to your session and I'm like in a really crappy mental space. I want to show up and play with your child and be like, hey, how old are you now? What are you into? Like, you know what I mean? And that's the only reason why I do take breaks, because I do want to be genuine in my sessions. And you can give me a review. What would your review be?
You're cool. No, like, I think as a photographer, we love your photography, right? Like, we love the settings, we love everything. And I honestly now knowing that, I really like how it's natural.
Yeah, because I don't have any like alternative space. Like, I'm gonna get him and then this person.
Correct.
I truly do want to know how you're doing. Like, that's the first thing I asked you. How's your wife doing?
Correct. So that's for me, that's really it's, and that's why when I contacted you is because I really wanted to know more of you, and and not just me, but like people who are listening to know this photographer from Utah. This is the insights is her. This is like who she really is, and I hope that people can see that and like, okay, I really like her. Let me go and check her out, her Instagram. Even though you haven't updated, you know what I'm saying? Like, let me check out her work. Let me check out stuff,
soon, you guys.
And it's always good to take a break, like breaks needed. So I'm excited to see you come back in full force, and I hope, starting with, like self-develop, your canvases, and then also, I'm here to help with, if you decide what you want to do, the podcast or whatever it is. Because that's, for me, it brings me pleasures knowing that I'm able to help someone succeed in whatever it is that they might be doing,
Honestly, like, this opportunity means a lot to me. So I'm definitely grateful for that. And like I said before, I support a lot of people around me that start from scratch. Like, we don't have the advantages. Correct. Right? We're starting from scratch. And sometimes, like, we may not be understood, but we got a vision. Yeah. And we got to stick to that. So for me, like, this has been really great. I do thank you. And you said before, I will consider. So hopefully you consider.
No, there's part two. I promise.
No, but you know what I mean? Like, I'm excited for your podcast, your vision to things, because that's how we grow. Like, you may be doing math and I may be doing, like, an essay, but we meet in this space where it's like there's a passion for something, and that's inspiring.
Yeah, and you're playing checkers and I'm playing chess.
Exactly.
I'm just kidding.
But it's true. Yeah. It's true. No. At the end of the day, we got to be inspired by each other and support each other. So I do appreciate this opportunity. This means a lot to me. And I have learned a lot from your podcast. Like, and I'm excited to, like, for you to share more, of other businesses and also your thoughts and your other podcasts. Like, I feel like you have many spaces that I didn't know, so I'm also learning. Like, that's cool. That's amazing.
No, I appreciate it for bringing that up. It's the other podcast that I have is Thoughts at the Spot. Because it's, my buddy and I sharing our thoughts.
That's awesome.
Whatever spot it is. So we can be at his house, my house, outside, in the park. So
see, that's awesome.
So-
I'm excited to listen to that because I told you, I'm like, hey, I could be the commentary. You know, like Amigos.
yeah.
Hey. Oh.
No.
That's me.
No, well, Gisselle, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. I appreciate, you know, being the support that you are. This is a great support. I appreciate it. You know, it means a lot. I'm thankful, like, that I'm hopefully this can help out, you know, you. And,
of course.
And, you know, I really appreciate it. So, you know, you have anything else? I want to thank everyone, you know, for listening and watching our videos at Visions to Ventures. I'll post more. And, you know, we have a TikTok. I have a TikTok here for the Visions to Ventures. Instagram. What else? The other ones? Facebook. A bunch of other things. So just continue following, listening, and I hope that you can use this to grow your vision and grow your business. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.